If you're anything like me, then you grew up in love with the X-Men. Other Marvel characters were cool, but especially the X-Men we could relate to. Recently, online, I've seen a lot of people asking the question, what's going on with the X-Men and what's up with this island of Krakoa? I was one of those people. So I was a little late to the party, but I eventually got on board and checked out Jonathan Hickman's Dawn of X series. And let me tell you, it's one of the best X-Men series I've read in a very long time. So stick around and I'll break down what's really going on in the age of Krakoa. Thank you for joining me, Marvel enthusiasts and X-Men rookies. This is Fandom Sage Powers, where we are diving deep into the pages of comic book history to bring you the gems of the Marvel Universe. Today, I've got a special episode featuring Jonathan Hickman's groundbreaking work, House of X and Powers of 10. Fasten your seatbelts, we're about to explore how these series have reshaped the destiny of our beloved mutants. For those new to the scene, Jonathan Hickman is a name that echoes through the halls of Marvel for his intricate storytelling and bold ideas. House of X and Powers of 10 are his twin series that have set a new course for the X-Men, introducing concepts and conflicts that fans will talk about for years. Charles Xavier, aka Professor X, is one of the most powerful mutant minds on Earth. He's a telepath with vast abilities, including mind reading, mental communication over incredible distances, the ability to project his own thoughts into the minds of others, and Xavier can also create realistic telepathic illusions and manipulate memories, effectively altering or erasing parts of a person's experience. His skill extends to the point where he can induce temporary mental or physical paralysis, control minds to a degree, and even protect himself and others from psychic attack through mental shields. His powers are so extensive that they enable him to detect the presence of other mutants, often leading to their recruitment into the X-Men. And this mission that Charles Xavier had was rooted in a vision of peaceful coexistence between mutants and humans. Despite the vast powers at his disposal, which could have easily been used for domination or revenge against those who oppress mutant kind, Xavier chooses a path of peace, education, and understanding. He founded the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, not just as a safe haven for mutants to learn and control their powers, but as a ground for nurturing a new generation that could bridge the gap between mutants and humans. Xavier's ultimate goal is to foster a world where fear, hatred, and violence against mutants are replaced with acceptance, equality, and cooperation. Through his actions and his teachings, he embodies the hope that one day mutants can be seen not as threats, but as individuals with unique contributions to society, working side by side with humans to create a better world for all. Or at least that was the plan. House of X #1, the house that Xavier built. In this first issue, Charles Xavier invites mutants to the newly established mutant homeland, Krakoa, and presents an offering, pharmaceuticals derived from the island's unique flora in exchange for recognition of Krakoa's sovereignty to the rest of the world. Then we get the introduction of the Orchis Protocol, which is a human coalition against mutant kind. This Orchis is rooted in a shared mission to prevent the extinction of the human species in the face of what they perceive as the rising mutant threat. With mutants establishing Krakoa as a sovereign nation and asserting their place in the world, Orchis sees this as a call to action. Their goal is not to just stop the mutants, but to ensure humanity's survival as the dominant species on Earth. An automated AI response to mutant propagation is what triggered this. So this whole system was in place some time ago. Some key members we meet in this huge space station orbiting the sun are Dr. Kane, Dr. Alia Gregor, who are married, and we also have Omega Sentinel, Karima Shandapur. Some may remember Omega Sentinel from back in the day. She was introduced. She was a police officer from India and also a mutant that got turned, and she tried to fight it for a while. She was a good guy for a little bit, but it looks like that programming has completely taken her over. We learn that one of the Orchis' key projects and central plot point in House of X is the creation of the Mother Mold, a huge space station orbiting the sun that is capable of producing master mold robots, which in turn can create sentinels. So it's a factory that makes factories that make sentinels. The ultimate fear for mutants is that this would lead to the creation of Nimrod, a highly advanced, near indestructible sentinel with the capability to adapt and evolve, making it potentially capable of exterminating all mutant life. Orchis represents a culmination of human ingenuity and desperation, harnessing advanced technology and radical ideology to combat the perceived mutant ascendants. Their methods and resources make them one of the most formidable foes the X-Men and the mutant community at large have ever faced. The existence of Orchis and their projects like the Mother Mold underscore the existential threat facing mutants, pushing them to unite and take drastic measures to secure their future. And this organization just represents the latest evolution of anti-mutant sentiment within the Marvel Universe, encapsulating the fear and prejudice and the aggression mutants have always faced, but magnified through the lens of advanced technology and coordinated effort. Jumping over to Powers of 10, The Last Dream of Professor X, this book series mirrors House of X, and we see The Last Dream of Professor X in 4 distinct timelines. You got X near 0, X 10, X 100, and X 1000. So these are increments of time. Back in the House of X timeline, we see a woman has approached Charles, and it turns out to be Moira McTaggart, traditionally known to Marvel fans as a brilliant human geneticist and a staunch ally of the X-Men. But this character undergoes a profound transformation in Jonathan Hickman's House of X and Powers of X. This revelation about Moira is not just a plot twist, but a seismic shift in the understanding of the X-Men's universe and its history. It is here it is revealed Moira is a mutant with the ability of reincarnation. Unlike typical portrayals of reincarnation, Moira retains memories, the knowledge, the consciousness of her previous lives into each new life. This ability effectively makes her a living, breathing repository of mutant kind's history, as well as the history of her interactions with the wider Marvel universe. Each time she is reborn, she has the opportunity to influence the course of mutant and human history, attempting to create a better outcome for mutant kind. We learn that Moira has lived many, many lives, and each life she attempts to change the fate of mutant kind, either through supporting Charles, allying with Magneto, or even attempting to eradicate the mutant gene. This adds a layer of complexity to the X-Men's history, as her actions across lifetimes have unknowingly shaped their destiny. We learn about Moira's manifestation of her power. She was born a normal girl, grew old, but she did get sick when she was 13, but was fine after a week. She died when she was very old, but that wasn't the end. She came back. She came back to another life. And her second life, she realized that, she remembered everything from her first life, and that wasn't normal. So she's a child with her memories and experiences of an adult that lived 74 years. Her parents were impressed because she was so smart, so she excelled naturally in school and did go back to school and made pretty much the same choices, except for she found that the joy and the love wasn't there with her husband the same way. They didn't have the same children or the same big family that she had last time. But she did discover someone on the TV named Charles Xavier, and he began to speak about mutants. And she was intrigued, and she thought that she might be a mutant, so she booked a flight to try and meet Charles Xavier, but her plane crashed and she died, thus ending her second life. In Moira's third life, she does meet Charles Xavier this time around and learns quite a bit from him, but she doesn't really like him. He's arrogant and he seems to have a God complex, so she kind of goes off on her own. She dedicates her life to science, ultimately discovering the mutant gene, but her achievements lead her to a premature death. She is approached by the Brotherhood, and specifically Destiny. Destiny has found her because Moira has spent her life coming up with a cure for the X gene, and Destiny is a precog who can see the future. She states that she cannot see Moira, she cannot perceive her, but She can perceive that there is a hole in the world, that events are happening around her, but there's nothing there, and that is the only way she was able to find her. Destiny reveals a profound understanding of Moira's nature and her reincarnation ability, something Moira had kept a secret. Destiny warns Moira that she is aware of her attempts to alter the course of mutant kind's future, and makes it clear that she cannot escape her responsibility towards mutant kind. Moreover, Destiny issues a stark warning. Moira has a finite number of lives, 10, maybe 11, if she makes the right choices. This limitation places immense pressure on Moira to make her lives count towards the betterment of mutant kind. But she still needs some convincing as far as Destiny is concerned. So she decides to kill Moira in one of the worst ways possible. She has Pyro burn her alive. In her fourth life, Moira becomes an activist for mutant rights, marrying Charles Xavier and working alongside him to create a better future for mutants. But despite their efforts, this life also ends in tragedy and failure, because once again, humans still come for them and send sentinels. In her fifth life, she tries pretty much the same approach with Charles, just a lot sooner, leaving school, skipping school completely, and establishing a safe haven for mutants much, much earlier. And still, yet again, the humans come for them, and she is comatose for a year before she dies in that sentinel attack. In her seventh life, Moira makes it her mission to prevent the sentinel uprising from ever occurring, and she kills Bolivar Trask and pretty much everybody in the Trask line for the next 20 or 30 years. She discovers a wild sentinel haven in the rainforest. Years later, to her surprise, the sentinels still found a way to come into being. Caught off guard, she was killed again. In her eighth life, Moira takes a more aggressive approach, aligning herself with Magneto to fight for the mutant supremacy. Despite their initial success, this path also leads to failure and Moira's death when the Avengers and multitudes of other heroes come against him. In her ninth life, seeking a different approach, Moira allies herself with Apocalypse, believing that only the strongest should survive. This leads to a world ravaged by war, where mutants are on top, but at great cost. And you see that she lives hundreds and hundreds of years into the future, but eventually they are still defeated. Now we are in Moira's 10th life. This is the current Marvel X-Men timeline. With Charles Xavier, she convinces him to go to Magneto to recruit Magneto. Together, they work to create Krakoa, a sovereign nation of mutants, leveraging all of Moira's past experiences to try and ensure a better future for mutant kind. In the Powers of 10 story side, you see several mutants that we're not familiar with, including Rasputin, Cardinal, Wolverine, Xylobel, and others. They are fighting against an advanced human technological machine hybrid species. And again, thousands of years in the future, we also see the culmination of this war has left pretty much the mutants have been defeated or left the Earth, and there's only a handful here. In the present day, we see Magneto greeting some ambassadors from various countries to give them a sort of tour of Krakoa and its facilities. We see that they have established a network of gates that they grow from special plants that are found on Krakoa so that they can instantaneously travel from one place to another, which totally changes the game. Meanwhile, Mystique, Toad, and Sabretooth have infiltrated a Strike safe house to pilfer some tech. Toad is hacking the system. He appears to be looking for something specific. They are out of time, and Mystique tells them they have to go. They leap from the building, not before Sabretooth has slaughtered several guards there. Outside, they are attacked by the Thing and Johnny Storm of the Fantastic Four. They are attempting to get to the gate, but before they can escape, or at least before Sabretooth can escape, he is trapped, blocked off from escaping by Invisible Woman. Reed Richards also arrives on the scene, and before they can completely subdue Sabretooth, the portal is active again, and out comes Cyclops. Initially, there's a pretty warm greeting between these heroes, but then things turn quickly. Cyclops asks Mr. Fantastic to hand over Sabretooth because he is a mutant. And as a mutant, he is to be disciplined or handled by Krakoan law, not by the laws of humans. This does not sit well with the Fantastic Four, and they try to reason with him, criticize, but Scott turns on them and he gives them something that has probably been on his chest for a long time, saying there has been a lot of death in his community and he has to look out for his people because obviously they weren't going to. Because where were they all those times? Where were they when they were dying and being targeted by the Purifiers, by the Reavers, by the Right, all these anti-mutant groups over the years? And he believes in what Charles Xavier is building, an amnesty for all and a sovereignty of the mutant state of Krakoa. They still do not come to an agreement, so Cyclops decides to, let it rest for now, much to the chagrin of Sabretooth. Magneto's tour is going about as well as you would think. These people are quite suspicious since they were supposed to be meeting Charles Xavier. With Magneto are the Stepford Cuckoos, who are telepathic mutants that form a hive mind together. They end up reading the minds of these people, learning what they've been hiding, their true agendas. One happens to be a Black Ops operative from X-Shield or X-Strike, and apparently another organization that the Stepford Cuckoos are unable to uncover, but they don't press the issue, but send the ones that don't need to be there on their way. Mystique has returned, having acquired this information, but wants something in return, and Charles proceeds to take this information telekinetically, surprisingly, and tells her that everyone is sacrificing for the greater good of Krakoa, and she'll get what she has coming to her when the time is right. Back in the Powers of X timelines, we see that the future is pretty bleak, and this war between mutants and machines rages on, it seems, for hundreds and hundreds of years. We jump back to a time where Magneto and Charles have visited Bar Sinister to meet Mr. Sinister there, and we see his alternates, his clones, and they approach him with a offer. They would like him to make a mutant database and store it, keep it safe. So this really reframes the whole narrative of Mr. Sinister, because the original Sinister denies them, he declines, but he is killed by another Sinister, his clone, and this clone has a mutant gene. He has the X gene, and he is delighted to join this coalition. So they make this unholy pact, but Xavier does erase his memory of this meeting, and he will not remember until such time as Charles wants him to, which is going to be years later. We jump again to the future, and we see that this ragtag group are comprised of what now are Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and they are led by Apocalypse himself. They have a specific task, a mission, and we see that there's a citadel, a large tower that is the citadel of Nimrod. And with him is Omega Sentinel. So he is overseeing this future with these hybrid human machine creatures. He seems preoccupied, and Omega Sentinel notices the mutants are acting up. They're getting into something. There's only a few left, 8 maybe. One is killed, we see, that had been hiding their signatures. Silo Bell is another that gets captured. She's a black brain telepathic mutant that was a hound, which are mutants brainwashed into hunting other mutants. And this concept is from the Days of Future Past timeline, which is interesting. Nimrod is not impressed or interested in what these mutants, these last rabble of mutants, are doing, but Omega Sentinel does go to investigate and ends up clashing with them and attacking. Eventually, Nimrod is alerted to something that he needs to address, someone breaking into his archives. And we see that Cypher/Krakoa hybrid has snuck in here with Wolverine. They've stolen something. Apocalypse tells them to flee while he holds off Nimrod. Unfortunately, he is overpowered by Nimrod as he makes duplicates of himself, and the great apocalypse falls. He is killed, and we see their mission was to get some information to Mother Aqaba, who they mentioned several times, and they find Mother Aqaba, and it is none other than Moira McTaggart. She is here in the future, 1,000 years in the future, and they feed her this crystal that is a information hard drive of sorts to get this information to her. So when she dies, she'll have the information she needs. And that's exactly what happens because Wolverine kills her. Thus ends the 9th life of Moira McTaggart. So back in the present, we learned that this information that they were gunning for in the future that Moira brought back is the same information that they needed to correlate with this thumb drive that Mystique found to find out how, where, and who is behind the creation of Nimrod. They are attempting to prevent this, and they have discovered Orcus's space base around the sun, and they are on their way to stop them. The X-Men are about to launch a mission, and this mission is led by Cyclops. It includes Jean Grey, includes Monet St. Croix, Archangel, it includes Husk, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Mystique. They are on a mission to end what is possibly the greatest threat to all of mutant kind, Sentinels and those who support their creation, and especially this mother mold, who can probably make hundreds of Sentinels per hour, if not more, and eventually lead to the creation of Nimrod, the ultimate Sentinel, the ultimate killer of mutants. During this initial assault and this mission to Orcus's base here, Dr. Kane, knowing that they were about to be infiltrated, makes a decision to blow himself up to stop them, or at least impair these mutants before they get on to this station. Now, Dr. Kane was Dr. Gregor's husband, so she is obviously distraught. Omega Sentinel encourages her to do something, or else her husband will have died in vain. This is what she needs to jump into action. On the X-Men's vessel, they are caught off guard and severely damaged. And matter of fact, they have lost 2 X-Men. Archangel is dead. Husk is dead. Nightcrawler is injured. Wolverine is very injured and healing himself. They have been in contact with Charles on Earth. The Stepford Cuckoos are boosting Charles's ability, along with Storm, who is channeling her power to get a liquid representation to help focus both of these groups of mutants. And on the ship, Monet is helping Jean channel and focus her telepathic powers to reach that far, because this is not a normal thing that telepaths do, which is project their powers off planet, or this amount of distance, which is almost to the sun. It is to the sun. So this is a example of a circuit, a mutant circuit, which they kind of bring up later. They must finish this mission, and Charles encourages them to. Magneto encourages them to, that this is what it's all for. This is all they have left if they don't stop this mother mold. So they carry on with the mission. Nightcrawler teleports them in to their respective places. They have to detach this head of this mother mold from this ring to stop it, to thrust it into the sun, to destroy it before they try to bring it online. And bringing it online is dangerous at this point, because it is learning, it is updating itself, the AI system, because in other iterations of the Sentinels, they attack humans eventually, because their logic tells them humans are where mutants come from. So eventually any human could become a mutant. So all humans need to be subjugated and need to be, exterminated. It's too, that's where that computer logic goes. So they are making sure that it has a nuanced brain and could tell the difference in what their targets are. But they're out of time. Dr. Gregor wants to turn on Mother Mold now, and she does. She begins to activate it. So during this time, we see that Mystique is taken out. sucked out of airlock, unfortunately. And we are losing these X-Men left and right. The two brackets that are left, then one bracket that is left, and they don't have anybody left but Wolverine and Nightcrawler. They have a really interesting conversation about life after death, and Wolverine is scared he's going to die. Nightcrawler comforts him, telling him that he'll be there on the other side. They teleport out to this bracket where Nightcrawler immediately is vaporized because they are so close to the sun. Wolverine hacks and slashes away at this bracket, releasing the head of this mother mold from that ring as they go hurtling into the sun. And Wolverine is still just slashing at it while the mother mold is just talking all kinds of crap. Pretty wild. Cyclops ends up getting blasted by Professor Gregor, shot in the face, killed. Jean gets ejected by Monet St. Croix, who tried to save her. Monet is overrun by all the guards, and even in her penance form, is taken out. Also, Jean in the pod by herself is set upon by Sentinels, and they tear that pod apart to get to her. They all have died, but Charles reassures everyone, and this is what he had planned for. We see these strange orbs at the beginning of the issue, and these plants and these kind of sacs. We find that they're eggs. We are introduced or reintroduced to 5 mutants, and they are known as the 5, and they oversee the resurrection protocols of Krakoa. We have Hope Summers. We have a mutant called Egg, formerly known as Gold Balls. We have a mutant named Tempest. We have Proteus, who is also Moira McTaggart's son. And we have Elixir. These 5 mutants together in a circuit use their abilities to bring back the dead. So Egg, whose power is to create these gold spherical projectiles, was initially thought that they were just strange gold balls, but it turns out they're unfertilized eggs. He can make them at any size, and he does take the eggs. They fertilize these eggs with the DNA of the lost mutant, which was provided by Mr. Sinister. This is the database that he was asked to make. Then we have Proteus along with the elixir. Proteus can manipulate reality in a localized area, and elixir is a biomorph and can pretty much manipulate life and bodily functions, and he jumpstarts the life process, the life of this egg, and gestates it. Tempest can control time in a localized area, so she speeds along this the maturation of this husk of a body. And Hope anchors them all. She kind of boosts their powers together, and they work in concert to do this. And the last step is to download the memories of this mutant back into their brain, which has been done before in other comics. And Cerebro, or Cerebra, this updated version that Xavier has been wearing this whole time, has been constantly imprinting backups of every mutant on the planet several times, all the time, to have backups of their brains mapped, essentially. So if they die, this process, they can basically get a reboot, a power up, an extra life. And this really sets the stage for the consequences, the politics of Krakoa, because not everybody gets brought back. And there's a queue, there's a waiting kind of list, because mutants that have been dead for a long time are suddenly popping back up. Storm reintroduces our resurrected X-Men that died on this mission, and she asks them questions to verify that they're who they say they are. Cyclops speaks about the time that he was beaten by Storm, and she recognizes that this is Cyclops. Monet St. Croix says, "Don't touch her." And she says she knows her sister and who all of these people are, and this is real, and they have defeated death, and they all rejoice. They party basically after this, and they end up forming a quiet council, which is their government as well. And there's a 12-person council. Cypher and Krakoa are on this council, as well as Magneto, Charles Xavier, Apocalypse, crazy, Sinister, Exodus, who's amazing, We also get Sebastian Shaw, the White Queen, Storm, Jean, and Nightcrawler. So this is the setup for what's going on Krakoa. I hope that you jump in if you haven't already. The story is pretty amazing. I just kind of wanted to give an overview and talk about, the stage and how it's been set. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and please come back to Fandom Sage.